But let's get on to the last player, and the one I think we've all been waiting for, and that's Shohei Ohtani from the Angels. He is a rental. He's going to command big money in free agency. I don't expect him to sign long-term before hitting free agency. He's going to see what everybody has to offer. So whoever gets him, you may have a head start, but don't think that they're going to have him locked up before free agency even begins. And some questions to go along with this. Could a smaller market team really make a push for Ohtani? And the Angels are only 6 games back of a wild card with a lot of baseball to go. Should they actually sell, or should they buy and kind of make one final push with Ohtani and Trout on the roster?
Look, here's the thing to start. And the report that came out from Morosi said that the Angels basically said, look, if you're going to give us an offer that starts with multiple top 100 prospects, then we're going to have to listen. That's not them saying we're going to sell. That's basically them saying you're going to have to blow us off our feet. How many teams are actually going to be willing to blow the Angels off their feet for a player of Ohtani's caliber for 2.5 months in potentially a playoff run? Not many. It's like the Cubs of 2016. You have to know you have a good shot to get there. Now, when I look at Ohtani, I just don't see a lot of small market, because it goes against everything these small market teams do. They don't really sell out like this. But just for fun, the teams that could go for Ohtani, that can spend the price, that are contenders, and by contenders I mean still in the race, not outwardly labeled as contenders. We've got Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Texas, St. Louis, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. In terms of small market teams, there's not many there. You have Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Cleveland. You have St. Louis, but are they really considered a small market team still with the way they've spent big money? Not on the level of those first 3. I'm going to have fun with Cleveland here, because I think you're probably going to need to send over 2, most likely 3 top 100 level prospects. Well, Cleveland has a few that they can dangle out there in front of you. I really do like Gavin Williams, but hey, send Gavin Williams over. Send Bo Naylor over. Send a Daniel Espino over. And then, maybe you need to send over one more major league pitcher and a bat. Well, you could throw one of your major league guys out there to him as well. The pitcher I would send back, Tristan McKenzie. He's hurt. He's not going to help you this year. You have a guy like Ohtani comes into Cleveland. The energy's there. The spark is there. In a very weak division that the Guardians only trail by 2 games. Why not? Maybe they have that magical 2016 run. They end this historic drought just off of a 2.5-month rental of Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, they mortgage the future. Their rebuild, it's gone. But hey, you win a World Series. Not saying they would definitely win a World Series going and getting Ohtani, but it certainly would help their chances, and it would certainly put them as the favorites once again in the American League Central.
I mean, I personally think like almost every team in baseball right now can be a contender to get Ohtani if they really want to for a rental. But I think I would think you would only go after him if you're certain that you have a shot at getting to the playoffs, because you're going to have to probably give up a lot of stuff to even get him off the Angels. But if I'm the Angels, I mean, unless I get some offer I can't refuse, I kind of just want to maybe ride out Ohtani the rest of the year, because you're probably not going to be able to sign him back after this year. And just, maybe Angels be a buyer this team, and maybe add, keep Ohtani and try to get someone else to, help the team and maybe make a run at the playoffs before, they lose Ohtani after this year.
Yeah, when it comes to talking about a potential Shohei Ohtani trade, the first question we have to ask is, are the Angels in the business of trying to get rid of him? And it really depends on what inclination he's give them on if he'll leave. Obviously, we know he'll test free agency and nothing is guaranteed. But if you think that it's more likely than not he's willing to re-sign, you can't trade this guy. I mean, we have been talking about him as the potential greatest baseball player of all time. If you can't build around that, I don't know what you can build around. Now, if we enter the world of potential trades, for me, it's got to be simple. It's got to be two things need to be there. One of two things, at least. You have to think you're a guaranteed World Series contender this year with Ohtani, or you have to think you are going to be able to re-sign him this offseason. So the teams that come to mind for me, the Baltimore Orioles, they'd be a guaranteed World Series contender. The New York Yankees, they'd feel like they have the money to re-sign him. Obviously, I don't think he goes anywhere else in the AL West. Obviously, the Rangers and Mariners would be interested, but I don't think that the Angels move him in division there. Then you could look at potentially the Phillies. They need pitching. You know, they could win a World Series. Do they have the money to re-sign him this offseason? We'll see. The Mets, we know that Steve Cohen's going to offer him a bag. And the Dodgers. Now, reports are coming out that the Dodgers aren't interested in trading for Shohei Ohtani at the deadline. You know, I get it, because if there's no guarantee he stays, you're going to have to give up, you know, your two best prospects potentially. You know, I know me and Corey have probably been thinking about it from the Yankees perspective. Are we willing to give up Oswald Peraza and Jason Dominguez for 2.5 months of Shohei Ohtani when the team's at 50 wins right now and fighting for a wild card spot with no guarantee that he stays? Those are some real concerns. Right now, my favorite to land him would be Baltimore, because they have the young players and they are a World Series contender. And, you know, off the rental, they can win one this year. It feels very NBA terms, Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors. There's not really a high shot that he stays in that market, but you could win one. And that's what we all play for.
Yeah, and look, John, you're 100% right. Anybody who does not see themselves as a contender this year, they're out on Ohtani, because you're not going to give up the assets when you can sign him this offseason. Now, I'm seeing in these reports, teams that are going to give up this type of package need assurances that Ohtani's going to sign. He's not signing before the offseason. He simply isn't. The only team that I think has the money or is willing to give the amount of money that Ohtani would need to sign before the offseason is the New York Mets. And who knows if Ohtani even wants to go to the East Coast. That was the biggest thing with the Angels. Yeah, Billy Epler, great. But Ohtani wants to be on the West Coast. There's a good chance he stays out in the West Coast because of that. Now, is staying on the West Coast more important than winning? That's what it comes down to. Or is it money? That's what it comes down to. There's a lot of different variables, but if a team is going to go out there, try to get a rental, just because we don't see big time rentals like this anymore, because teams aren't willing to give up the prospects for a rental for 2.5 months. You know, it's just fun to play around with. Yeah, Baltimore has the pieces. A team like Cleveland, yeah, maybe they're not necessarily a World Series favorite, but they're definitely a contender when you get the caliber player Shohei Ohtani is.
Ohtani, in my opinion, does want to stay in the West Coast, but that doesn't mean he can't compete. The Angels, they're not going to trade him to the Dodgers. That makes no sense. Crosstown rivals. Why would you want to move Ohtani to your own backyard? But how about these two teams? The San Francisco Giants. They made big moves this past offseason. They tried to sign Aaron Judge. You got that whole arson Judge debacle stemming from it. And then as Carlos Correa was there for his press conference, the medicals fell through. Those were two massive deals. Why not make it right with their fan base? Go and trade for Ohtani and then lock him up long term. They have the money. They have the desire. Plus, they're in the National League, so you keep Ohtani away from, you know, the Angel side of Los Angeles. Plus, you stick it to the Dodgers a little bit. Another team, they have one of the deepest farm systems in baseball. Ohtani resigning there, a little iffy. But as a rental, this puts them as a World Series contender, which is what we kind of put as at least the low bar for making a trade. And that's the Diamondbacks. Pair Ohtani, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, all these guys. You have a real legit shot at winning it all. Add Ohtani to that Zach Gallen-led pitching staff. You have a lot to work with. The Diamondbacks have the prospects to pull it off. Do they have the stomach? I don't know. But they're a smaller market team that I think could really make that move.
I think that it would be really exciting to see the Diamondbacks. And I agree with you, Corey. You know, they're another team that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they're a small market team. You have a lot of guys who are having big seasons there. And I'm actually going to compare this to another sport, and it's the New Jersey Devils of last year. Now, the Devils were rumored to get the big guy in Timo Meier. Now, Timo Meier, nowhere near Ohtani's level in terms of how superstar they are. But a lot of people were like, oh, do you want to give up that many assets for a guy that you can go and sign? Well, no, when you're putting together a season like you are, when guys are having the seasons they are, Christian Walker's having a great season for them right now. They're having great years out of Corbin Carroll, Zach Gallen, Ketel Marte. This would make the lineup that much deeper. It would make the rotation that much deeper. And all of a sudden, you know, a lot of people who have been saying, oh, the Dodgers eventually are just going to pull in front. Not so much, maybe not so fast. And it might be the Diamondbacks' turn to take this division away from the Dodgers and finally end their streak of NL West titles.
I actually really like if Ohtani went to either one of those teams, the Giants or the Diamondbacks. Like, I think if Ohtani goes to either one of those, I think that it's automatically going to make them a World Series contender. And out of both those teams, I think, like, even if the Giants don't trade for him at the trade deadline here, I think you know, that's a team that is going to be in talks for Ohtani to sign during free agency. Because I honestly think, like, that's where he's going to end up next year is the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, so a question that I kind of want to pose to you guys is, do we think that Ohtani has any say in this? I mean, I get it that he doesn't have a no trade clause, but if you're the Angels, a lot of prospects have been coming over from Japan recently. And if Ohtani has, you know, said to you guys, I don't want to go to a small market team, I don't want to go to the East Coast, and you send him there, it's going to get around. Are the Angels just kind of going to strike themselves out of any overseas Japanese players in the future if they don't kind of work with Ohtani here with how great of a player he is? Or is everybody going to just kind of understand business is business and keep it moving?
Yeah, Dylan, that's a fantastic question. And just to take it a step further, if the Angels think that they can re-sign Ohtani, doesn't it look better for them to kind of send him away, retool that farm system, let him win something somewhere else, and then bring him back? Do everything you can to stay on good terms with one of the greatest players in baseball history. It's as simple as that. He's got a lot of links to Japan, like you were saying. He's got a lot of links to the majors. He's one of the most beloved players in the whole sport. Why would you do anything to get on his bad side? Do everything you can to make him happy. Do right by him, but also be honest with him. If he wants to go to the Dodgers, tell him, you know, no. If he wants to go to the Mariners, tell him no. But be honest. Don't leave him in the dark. Work with him on a good destination that works for both of you. Treat it like in the NBA. When a superstar wants to get traded, the team doesn't just send them always to their number one choice, but they try to work with the player to send them to the best destination for both the team and the player. So that's kind of the direction the Angels need to take.
Yeah, and look, I think that at the same time, yeah, you're not going to do anything to get on Ohtani's bad side. But if he has told you he's not re-signing, you owe it to your organization to get the best possible return. I'm sorry. You're giving up the best player in the world right now. I do not care where you want to go. You're going to get to go sign wherever the hell you want in 2.5 months. Tough it out. We gave you X amount of dollars to come over here and play. You signed with us originally. You know, the Angels, it's not like the Angels haven't been good to Ohtani. They haven't necessarily built a roster around him, but as an organization and what they've done to him, they've been very accommodating. I definitely don't think that the Angels owe Ohtani anything more than a roster at this point. You know, you trade him, obviously the team that's trading for him is going to be in contention. He's getting to sign wherever he wants in a couple of months. It doesn't matter where he goes.
Yeah, Ben, I think the key to that is definitely in a couple of months, he gets to go wherever he wants. So even if you are the bad guy, it's only temporarily. It's not like you're moving a guy who's got 5-6 years left on his deal. It's a decision that I personally am happy that I'm not the one that has to make in the Angels front office. And ultimately, I don't see them moving Ohtani. If anything, I see them trying to make a push just because they're not so far out. But with the Mike Trout injury, with his injury history, if Ohtani's told you flatly that he's leaving, those are some wrinkles that could definitely be involved. And I also like Corey's idea that he brought up of a little, Ohtani, you can go play somewhere else for 2.5 months, help us replenish the farm system, and then we'll bring you right back here for a long-term deal. That would be just the ultimate masterclass by the Angels front office if they pulled that off.